Hola, ¿cómo estás? September 13th. It was a nice 80-degree day. Nothing too crazy heat wise. Running the Federal Pros, which are, I think I'm going to stick with them as far as my tire that I'm going to be running from now on. Maybe I'll switch and do something else. I don't know because, I changed my mind because I'm a hypocrite. And if you're a living, breathing human, you're a hypocrite and you always change your mind and change your status and views on things. So, but that being said, the Federal Pros are kind of what I like. The more I think about it, the more I like it. I like cheap. We love cheap here around my house. Tires are cheap. And besides that, they're good in the wet. And they have good enough traction. They're not the best, but they're far from the worst. And they're a good tire. So with everything being said, yeah, I think I'm going to stick with it. But another thing I want to say is that I've hit the plateau. When you're in the weightlifting, you hit a plateau where you hit a point where you just can't seem to get stronger and whatever, to do those little breakthroughs. Well, I've done that in the car world, and you'll do that too, where you hit a time where it's like, no matter what, you can't get past that time. And then something happens and you break through that time and blah, blah, blah. Well, I've hit mine. It's like on the west side, it's 47s. I've come to the conclusion that I'm just 47s from here to the end of time. That being said is I can run besides the ultra, my record breaking time, which I did 45s, and it wasn't like a fluke 45. It was like I did a ton of 45s that day. But that tire was the absolute stickiest thing I've ever seen or even touched, even driven on. I can't even describe the feeling of the softness of those tires. Like you pulled on the track and you knew these tires were soft. Like the grip level was beyond imagination. Like it was something I think back and it's still hard for me to comprehend. That being said, I wish I would have known they were that sticky because at the deterioration that tire did because it's so soft, I wish I really would have taken advantage of it when it was a good tire before I destroyed it. But besides that, every tire I get in a high performance category. Street tires, like hardcore street, not a hardcore street tire, but like a, all season tire. I can't do these times, but for the pros, I can do a 47. The FP8000s, granted, these FP8000s I have are 300 and something treadwear tire. They're a good tire, Falcon design. They're a Taiwan knockoff, company that does it, who bought the rights and produced the tire. Very cheap tire. But that tire I run in a really wide width, 285. With that tire, I can also do 47s. The 201s, which is a step above the pros, and it's Federal's basically competition tire, 100 treadwear tire. Scary as all get out in the wet. In a 225, granted super skinny, but I can do 147s. Like just 147 is a magic number. Can't get really by it. So I've kind of just embraced my 47s and that's just what I'm going to run. And that's it. Because I'm not going to get crazy with modifications and stuff I'm not in search of, it's a never ending. When you're looking down the rabbit hole, it's never ending. So no matter what you do, it's never going to be fast enough. And there's always going to be something else you can do to go faster. So you kind of have to draw a line. At which point is the money spent versus time increased and the payoff, meaning how happy you are because of these changes, where it all starts. You have to find that happy medium spot where it all makes sense, where, oh, yeah, I'm happy because these times are I'm happy with for the car and how much money I have set into it, and this, that, and the other. And everybody's limits and ideas of where that line is different. Some people are like, I if I can tear out the interior and I can do this, I can do that, I'm gonna do it because that's what I want to do. Where people like me were like, I don't want to destroy the car. I still want it to be a street car. So I have that option because for me, having a purpose-only race car is not that cool. I'm one of those people. And the same thing was with me with motorcycles too. Well, for the longest time it was with motorcycles. I liked people who took race bikes, like literally factory race bikes, and made them street legal, or took race cars and made them street legal. For something, I have no idea. I mean, it's just some weird thing in my head that the ability to drive it on the street legally or drive it to the track, to me, is cool. I really like that. Like, the idea of me having to get a truck and trailer and drag a car out to the track, I have no intentions, no plans, or no want to do that. I like it where I can just, my car that I drive on the street, I can take it to the track. Like if it was the 1950s and you're rocking a Ferrari or something, or a 60s, or you can just, this car is very capable of track driving, doing nothing, straight from the factory, and that's what I want to do. So, that being said, the car is going to be where it is. I can go crazier with it, strip it, downforce, you name it. There's a million things. One thing about running a Mustang, there's a million options you can do. But you don't want to go too deep in the rabbit hole where you have spent a shit ton of money, like a shit ton of money, because that's very easily can happen, and you're out there and you're doing all right, or maybe not as well as you thought, or whatever, and it doesn't matter. The thing is if you get that feeling of, this really wasn't worth it. The money I spent is not worth it. Because the second you hit that line and you cross over it, suddenly track, fun, that kind of stuff leaves. And it becomes a bitter pill where it's just like, I don't want to do this, that, and the other. And you lose interest. I've seen it a million times. Especially even in the motorcycle world. I mean, I grew up in the motorcycle road racing world. That's when I was a little kid. It wasn't even MotoGP, it was GP 500s. That was the cream. AMA superbike races I've been going to since I was like young teenager. I grew up in that club racing scene. So I'd seen it a million times throughout the years. I mean, I got my own competition license at 18 for motorcycle road racing. But where people fell off the deep end, they got some crazy idea where they're going to do something not even out of the box, because a lot of times some people hit that cusp where they think it's, their ability kind of runs out. And so I think it's the vehicle or whatever. So they go crazy with it. And suddenly the work, the pain, the money, the consequences of spending large quantities of money for a lot of these people, unless they're severely wealthy, it just wears on them. And it turns a fun hobby into something where they just get burnt out on it. They don't want to do anything with it. So you don't want to fall in that hole. So be careful. Now I'm trying to tell myself, I'm seeing the edge, and I'm like, we're not going any further. We're just going to be where we're at and enjoy life. That being said, why? Why am I hitting that wall? Well, I've been thinking about it. And the one thing, and again, this falls under my motorcycle background, there was a little saying that was always said when I came up, and that is, if you ain't sliding, you ain't riding. Meaning, if you couldn't push the bike where it was sliding on the gas, on the brakes, through the turn, and if you look at road racing, even though it looks smooth, nice, really the bike is constantly moving. It's just so subtle, you don't really see it with cameras, especially with cameras. Naked eye, you can kind of pick it up more, But when you're on it, you fucking feel everything. You know when anything is starting to slide a little bit or a lot. Usually the big slides you see, that is to the rider is huge. My thing is the car is the same way. Car driving. If you're not being able to drive the car where it is sliding on the brakes, on the gas, through the corner. Now, there's that fine line where you hit the wall of diminishing returns where like when is just sliding or when is drifting. And that is true because, you know, you go too crazy, you lose time. But you have to be able to drive the car loose. A loose car is a fast car. And if you can't drive it loose, you're not that fast. So making your car faster, yes, will help you get up to a better level, but you're gonna hit a wall again. Now, people who can drive a car loose, usually you'll see them being outclassed as far as hardware, and they still kind of do really well to win. Because they can push that edge, and the farther the edge. Remember, your fastest lap is the lap you do right before you crash. You gotta remember that. The fastest lap is the one that is right before you fly off the track into a burning pile of garbage. That's the fastest lap. So the closer you can get to that edge, the faster you're gonna be. Now, you don't wanna cross it, because if you cross it, we all know what happens. But needs to say is you got to be able to drive the car loose. And I think that's the main thing. I think a lot of people who get fast, they get fast because the tires are so capable, the car is so capable that they're going really well in the aspect from a street driving point. They're going really fast around something, you know, going around corners. But it's mainly they're not pushing that edge of the tire's limits. They're not pushing the edge of the car's limits. They're not even close to it. So they're not really, in the big picture, that fast. So if you have like a Porsche and you're not sliding, or, you know, whatever car, you could put any high performance car in there, Ferrari, and, you know, you're going through turns, and that car, if you're not running the edge where you're using the curbs to kind of straighten yourself out, there's a lot of time still there that you can do and take it. And then the higher performance the car, the more subtle you got to ride that edge. You know, you got slicks. Okay, that's great. Now that edge is even higher. And then, of course, the margin of error is even smaller before you lose control and crash. That's kind of the thing where I'm just like, look, I can drive the car semi-loose. It does not bother me on braking is really easy. I don't care. Like, dude, I can drive the car fairly loose. And that was mainly because just background kind of thing. From the motorcycle world to the car world, it's a lot easier to make that switch than the other way around. So to me, it was like really not that scary versus, you know, if you try to do it and you've never done it before. So my thing is just like, I can't go the real fine edge thing. That's why the two fastest guys I've ever seen who have adopted to road track racing, cars that is, were drifters. And I just think it's just because they're so used to riding above the edge of the tire that for them to back off that little 5%, they're just really quick because they're not afraid of the car moving. They kind of know what the car is going to do. So where a normal person who's used to driving 100% grip and then is pushing the edge where they're losing grip, they get scared. And that's a problem. And they back off. Whereas the other way, the drifters, they're just so used to the car being out of control where they're running that edge that they do not get scared. So they'll push that line. They'll push that edge much closer, much faster. So they usually are pretty damn fast instantaneously. Like they can literally take a drifter who's never even done any road course work, take them out there, and it's like, you talk to him for like 2 seconds, and then boom, he's putting lap times down that are shocking relatively quickly. So yeah, it's the thing. Me, I hit that wall. I know I can't drive that edge any more than what I have been. Maybe I can, but I doubt it severely. So, what do? Well, you just kind of accept it and enjoy the day. That's pretty much what I'm going to do. No need to go any faster than what I can easily on the budget that I have. And remember, as long as you can make it through the day and you can drive home at the end of it, sounds like a winner to me. That's it.